For more resources, visit rymonline.org.
The Local Youth Worker is a daily podcast that's centered on 5 questions each week. Ranging from the practical to the professional, we're looking for answers to the questions you're asking. Whether you're in full-time, part-time, or even volunteer youth ministry, this podcast is for you.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We're here with Matthew Icard. I got it right that time?
Yeah, you did. There you go.
Associate Pastor to Youth and Families at Clemson Press. So we've talked about good and bad things in ministry, and as we know, ministry can be challenging for anyone and difficult for anyone. So question today is, what's an encouraging truth that you reflect on to give you perspective in ministry? It doesn't have to just be one thing. It could be a few things. But what are some things that you reflect on to give you encouragement and perspective in youth ministry?
Yeah, there are a lot of things I try to bring back to mind on a regular basis. Some of the things that I heard probably when I was a teenager that have just always stayed with me. But I think, the big thing for me that I always come back to is that ultimately everything let me back up a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, please do. Back the train up.
Yeah, back the train up. That's right. I don't know if you feel or felt this pressure in the local pastorate, but I feel like being a pastor is very weird because it's one of the few jobs where there are no measurable outcomes. Like you don't get to go home at the end of the day and say, I made X number of, or I made this process more efficient, or my research led to this end, or you just kind of say, I tried to be faithful to communicate truth and to prepare for the communication of truth and for the fellowship of God's people as best as I could.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, absolutely.
And so, for me, that's just, again, I'm very type A. Like that got very frustrating very, very quickly. And the flip side of that coin is when you see favorable outcomes, when you see someone maybe come to faith or grasp something beautiful about God or the gospel for the first time or for the 100th time, you don't actually get to take credit for it as a pastor. You just have to lean back and say, thank you, Jesus.
Exactly.
And so I think, being in ministry, it's incredibly humbling. And it requires a lot of patience. And so for me, and this is kind of funny reflecting on recent events, but the thing I come back to time and time again is that God is actually at work. And in his infinite wisdom, he has chosen to be at work through his people. And in his great grace and mercy, he's chosen to include me in that group. You have to remember God is at work when you're kind of riding on this huge wave of enthusiasm and encouragement and energy in your ministry. When something that you worked so hard to plan well comes off exactly like you wanted it to, and everybody was there, and they brought friends, and they're all raving about it on social media.
Yeah.
I think at that point, the God is at work thing kind of it helps you remember to be humble and to remember your place. When you pour all the time and energy into an event or even a person and nothing really ever clicks and it's flat, and there again you have to remember that God is at work, and he's at work through the words that you say and your responses, and ultimately through his word and his spirit. So
yeah, that's great. I definitely resonate with that. And I did landscaping in college for a time, and there were times where in ministry I just thought, I wish I could just go mow lawns.
Oh yeah.
Because I would know, okay, that lawn's done. I did my job for the day.
Yep.
Because there are times you get home and, like you said, what have I done?
Nothing.
Yeah. And so it's so encouraging. An awesome truth to be reminded that God is at work. So thanks for that. Is there anything else that you reflect on? Anything that's been an encouragement to you?
I guess it would kind of be a little bit of a tangent to the whole God is at work idea. But just the freedom that we have, and I think this is kind of where our theology leads into just everyday life. We just have this real freedom to I think, be patient because of that. And to be freed up, in the way that we have conversations, and even in the way that we use our time, and the way that we prioritize our work. When, just kind of again a practical example of this. Again, if you're listening to this, you're probably going to think like he's got to be the tightest guy I've ever met in my entire life. He's going to be terrible at youth ministry, but I'm a very organized kind of guy. Like I love to lay out my week. I love to lay out my days. I'm full manuscript when I'm teaching something kind of person.
That's surprising. I never thought that about it. I mean, that's not offensive.
Yeah. And so, early on, when you think about this whole God is at work thing, but who am I and personality, and I can remember times when a student or a parent or even another staff member at our church would walk into my office, and I would feel incredibly inconvenienced by their presence because I had other things that, I had to get done.
Yeah.
And that frustration would increase if it just felt like sort of a, hey, how are you? I'm going to goof around with things in your office and mess up your books and, just kind of do whatever. But I think, my eyes have kind of been opened to the idea of like, listen, this person is here providentially.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they may only be here to say hello for 35 seconds. But, be patient and just come alongside God in his work and recognize that this is an eternal soul and that this conversation may actually be the most important thing you do this week.
Wow.
And I would love to tell you that I'm really, really good at that, and that's exactly who I am every day now. But I think just trying to learn that, to even move toward people in that. My office sits, basically, my window overlooks the main entrance to the church. And so, just as the Lord is changing me, like I actively try to move toward people who are coming into the church now instead of trying to close the blinds and shut the door.
Turn off the lights. Yeah.
Office hours are kind of thing. Just to say, you know what, just be patient with what God's doing today, and let's create some margin for ministry. So,
yeah, that's. Again, good advice, and that's something that resonates with me once again, because I'm definitely prone to, okay, I've got this done, I need to get this done, I've got, to-do lists, and now you're walking in, interrupting me, so I'm definitely with you on that. And when you think of patience, obviously just in life, that's a good thing, but you think of ministry, and especially youth ministry, because, we're dealing with students that are still, especially you think of, middle schoolers, in the developmental process, cognitively, spiritually, emotionally. And so that's sanctification process. And so being extremely patient with them in the midst of all of that. And again, like you said, kind of a component of God being at work, but trying to be patient in the sanctification process and not hurry them along. So that's some good application there as well. Well, Matthew, thanks a lot for that.
Absolutely. Glad to help.